The stars looked peaceful from Earth. People gazed up at them wondering what might be out there. For centuries, humans dreamed about meeting aliens, about finding friends among the stars. They were wrong. Admiral John Miller stood on the bridge of the Defender, Earth's newest and most advanced spacecraft. At 52 years old, his hair had gone gray at the temples, but his blue eyes remained sharp and alert. 25 years in the Earth Alliance Navy had prepared him for many things, but not for what he was about to witness. "Sir, we're receiving an emergency transmission from Proxima Colony," said Lieutenant Diane Foster, her fingers moving quickly across the communications panel. Sweat beaded on her forehead despite the cool temperature of the bridge. "Put it through," Miller ordered, his stomach tightening with dread. The Proxima Centauri colony was humanity's first attempt to settle beyond the solar system. 2000. Brave people had made the journey to build a new home around Earth's nearest stellar neighbor. The screen flickered to life, showing the face of Governor Paul West. His usually neat appearance was gone. Blood ran from a cut on his forehead, and smoke filled the background behind him. "This is an emergency broadcast to all Earth Alliance vessels. We are under attack. Repeat, Proxima Colony is under attack by unknown alien vessels. They appeared without warning. Our defenses are—" An explosion rocked the governor's location, sending him stumbling. "They're too powerful. They're killing everyone. This isn't a battle, it's a slaughter. If anyone receives this, please—" The transmission cut to static. "Get that signal back," Miller shouted, but he knew it was useless. "Sir," the sensor officer, Kevin Wright, called out, his voice cracking. "I'm picking up massive energy readings from the Proxima system. It's gone, sir. The entire colony. The planet's surface is melting." Silence fell over the bridge. 20 years of human expansion into space erased in minutes. "Detecting multiple objects entering our solar system," Wright reported, his hands shaking. "Configuration unknown. They're moving faster than anything we've ever tracked." Miller felt a cold weight in his chest. "Battle stations. Alert Earth Defense Command and get me a visual." The main screen shifted to show space near Jupiter. 7 crystalline ships, each the size of a small city, glided into the solar system. They moved with impossible grace, as if the laws of physics were merely suggestions to them. "They're scanning," Foster said, her voice barely above a whisper. A new signal came through. The being that appeared on screen wasn't human. It had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern on a face that resembled polished marble. When it spoke, its thin lips barely moved, but everyone on the bridge heard its voice in their minds. "Attention. Primitive species designation. Humans. I am Sub-Commander Vextor of the Galactic Dominion. Your unauthorized expansion beyond your solar system has been noted and terminated. This violation of Dominion law cannot be overlooked." Miller stepped forward. "This is Admiral John Miller of the Earth Alliance. The people you killed were peaceful colonists. We had no knowledge of your laws or your existence. We request immediate dialogue to—" "Silence," the alien interrupted, and Miller felt a pressure in his head that made him wince. "Ignorance of Dominion law is not an excuse. Your species has been classified as Level 2, barely capable of interplanetary travel. Such species are confined to their home systems until they reach sufficient advancement for consideration of Dominion membership." "And who gave you the right to make these rules?" Miller asked, anger replacing his shock. The alien's upper eyes narrowed. 10,000 years of galactic dominance gives us every right. Your species is young and primitive. You will remain in your solar system, or you will be removed from existence. This is not negotiation, this is mercy." The screen went dark. "They've taken position near Mars orbit," Wright reported. 7 ships holding formation. Miller turned to his communications officer. "Get me Earth Command now." 3 days later, in a secure bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, humanity's leaders gathered. Military officials, scientists, and government representatives from every nation sat around a massive table. Satellite feeds showed the alien ships, still in position, still watching. Susan Clark, NASA's chief astronomer, stood to address the room. At 38, she was younger than most senior scientists, but her brilliance had propelled her career forward. Her brown hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and dark circles under her eyes showed she hadn't slept since the Yao crisis began. "We've been monitoring their communication," she said, bringing up data on the main screen. "They're not as careful with their transmissions as they should be. Perhaps they don't think we're advanced enough to intercept them." President William Hayes leaned forward. "And what have you found?" Clark took a deep breath. "They're planning to sterilize Earth within 1 galactic year, about 14 months in our time. They believe we're too aggressive, too unpredictable to be allowed to develop further." Murmurs filled the room. "Can we negotiate?" asked the European Union representative. "Surely they must have diplomatic protocols." "They don't negotiate with Level 2 civilizations," Clark said. "In their eyes, we're barely more than animals." General Alan Reeves stood up. At 60, he was the most decorated soldier in the Alliance military, with a scar running down the right side of his face from a war long past. "Then we fight." "With what?" Miller asked. "You saw what they did to Proxima. One ship could probably destroy our entire fleet. So we don't fight fair," Reeves replied. "They think we're primitive, maybe that's our advantage. They won't expect what we're capable of when backed into a corner." President Hayes rubbed his temples. "What are you suggesting, General?" Reeves looked around the room. "We make them believe we've accepted their terms. We show them a planet focused, inward, building better homes, advancing medicine, creating art. Meanwhile, we prepare. We build a fleet unlike anything they can imagine, hidden where they won't look." "That would take years," Miller said. "Then we better get started today," Reeves replied. "Because in 14 months they're coming to kill us all." As the meeting continued late into the night, a plan formed. Humanity would present a facade of compliance while secretly preparing for war. Resources would be diverted to hidden facilities, on the far side of the moon in the asteroid belt, and beneath the surface of Mars. "They think we're primitive," Reeves told the room as dawn approached. "Let's show them what primitive humans are capable of when fighting for survival." Outside the bunker, snow fell on the mountains. In the sky above, stars twinkled peacefully. And among them, watching and waiting, the ships of the Galactic Dominion had no idea what they had just awakened. 50 years had passed since the Dominion ships arrived. On Earth, life seemed peaceful. Cities grew more beautiful, not larger. Art flourished. Medical advances extended human lifespans. To the watching eyes of the Dominion, humanity had accepted its place, a primitive species content to develop within the confines of its home planet. The truth lay elsewhere. Chief Engineer Olivia Ross stood in the massive construction bay, carved inside the asteroid series. At 45, she had spent half her life on this project. Her dark skin was marked with tiny scars from years of working with experimental materials, and her hands were strong from building the impossible. Before her floated the Earth's Vengeance, the flagship of humanity's secret fleet. Unlike the elegant, crystal ships of the Dominion, this vessel was a brutal machine. Black metal plates covered its hull, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. No windows broke its smooth surface. It resembled a massive spearhead, a weapon, not a ship. "Beautiful, isn't she?" asked Kyle Bennett, Olivia's apprentice. At 25, he had never known a world without the Dominion threat. "Beautiful isn't the word I'd use," Olivia replied. "Terrible, maybe. Necessary, definitely." They watched as robotic arms attached the final armor plates to the ship's hull. Throughout the asteroid belt, similar scenes played out. 500 warships were nearing completion, each built with technology the Dominion believed impossible for humans to develop. "They think their technology is magic," Olivia explained as they walked through the ship's interior. "But we've learned that even magic has rules, and rules can be broken." The corridors were narrow, every inch of space used for essential systems. They reached the engine room, where a team of engineers worked on a drive unlike any humanity had previously created. "The Dominion uses stable wormholes for travel," Olivia said. "They open gates between points in space, clean, safe." "And predictable," added Kyle. Olivia nodded. "Our ships don't use gates. They tear holes in space itself. It's dangerous, less precise, but they'll never see us coming." In another part of the solar system, beneath the dusty surface of Mars, Professor Howard Grant led a different team. At 68, his body was failing, but his mind remained sharp. He floated in a zero-gravity chamber surrounded by holographic displays showing complex equations. Their shields operate on predictable frequency patterns, he explained to the weapons development team. They've used the same technology for thousands of years without major changes. Why improve what already works perfectly? Their mistake, said weapons specialist Lisa Murray. How's the phase variance calculator coming along? Grant smiled. It works. We can predict their shield frequencies with 98% accuracy and adjust our weapons to bypass them completely. On the other side of Mars, Captain Patricia Lawson supervised the stealth systems testing. Her experimental ship, the Shadow, disappeared from all sensors as it activated its cloaking technology.
It bends not just light, she told her crew, but the very fabric of space-time around the ship. As far as their sensors are concerned, we simply don't exist. The Dominion's monitoring stations observed nothing unusual. Their advanced sensors
regularly scanned the solar system, finding only what humans wanted them to see, a civilization focused inward, developing in harmless ways. The Dominion commanders reported back to their superiors that the primitive humans had learned their lesson. They never bothered to look inside the asteroids or beneath the Martian surface. Why would primitives hide there? In a secure facility, under the Pacific Ocean, President Samantha Rodriguez reviewed the final preparations. At 53, she had spent her entire adult life preparing for this moment. The weight of humanity's future pressed down on her shoulders. Admiral Richard Donovan, commander of the Earth Fleet, stood beside her. The last ships will be complete within the month, he reported. Crews are trained, weapons are tested, we're ready. Rodriguez studied the holographic display showing the positions of Dominion forces throughout nearby space. And our intelligence? Accurate. To within 97%, replied Intelligence Director Frank Cooper. We've been monitoring their communications for decades. They've grown careless, thinking we lack the technology to intercept their signals. Their biggest mistake was leaving those monitoring ships in our system, Donovan added. They've been our window into their technology, their tactics, their weaknesses. Rodriguez nodded. And the Dominion extermination fleet? Our deep space telescopes confirm they're assembling, Cooper said. The Dominion keeps to its schedules. After exactly 50 years, they're preparing to sterilize Earth just as they threatened. They believe this will be routine pest control, Donovan said with a grim smile. A Level 2 civilization being removed to make room for more worthy species. How many ships? Rodriguez asked. 30, Cooper replied. Far more than needed to destroy an undefended planet, but the Dominion believes in overwhelming force. Rodriguez walked to the window overlooking the underwater base. Fish swam past, unaware of the momentous decisions being made. They killed 2,000 of us at Proxima Colony, she said quietly. They've threatened to kill everyone on Earth. For 50 years we've lived under their shadow. She turned back to face her advisors. It's time to show them what humanity is capable of. Across the solar system, coded messages flashed to hidden bases. Ship captains received their final orders. Weapon systems came fully online. On Ceres, Olivia Ross and Kyle Bennett watched as the Earth's vengeance powered up its systems for the first time. The massive ship hummed with energy. Will it work? Kyle asked. It has to, Olivia replied. In the Mars weapons facility, Professor Grant ran final calculations on the shield penetration systems. His hands shook, not from age, but from the weight of responsibility. Perfect, he whispered as the numbers aligned. In her underwater office, President Rodriguez sent the final command, launch the fleet. Throughout the asteroid belt, beneath Mars and from hidden bases on Earth's moon, ships began to move. The human fleet assembled at the edge of the solar system, hidden from Dominion sensors by technology they believed impossible. Admiral Donovan took his place on the bridge of the Earth's vengeance. The crew worked with quiet efficiency, each person aware of what was at stake. All ships report ready, Admiral, his executive officer reported. Donovan nodded. Set course for the Dominion assembly point. Prepare for spacefold. The 500 Ships of humanity's fleet aligned in formation. Their engines glowed with strange energy as they prepared to tear holes in reality itself. Donovan thought of Earth, of all they were fighting for. "Begin the operation," he ordered. The fleet vanished from normal space, leaving behind only the faintest ripple in the fabric of reality. The Dominion would never see them coming. High Admiral Corvex of the Dominion Extermination Fleet sat in his meditation chamber aboard his command ship. His 4 eyes were closed as he focused his thoughts. The blue-gray skin of his face was decorated with the gold markings of his high rank. To Corvex, the upcoming mission was routine. In his 300 years of service to the Dominion, he had overseen the removal of 12 primitive species. Humans would be the 13th. High Admiral, his executive officer called. Through the communication system. "All ships report ready for the cleansing operation." Corvex opened his eyes. "Very good. Begin pre-attack meditation. We strike in 1 standard hour." The Dominion fleet hung in space near the Arcturus system, 30 ships arranged in a perfect formation. Each vessel was a marvel of crystal and energy, the product of 10,000 years of technological advancement. "Sensor report on the target system?" Corvex asked as he entered the command bridge. A junior officer bowed low. "The primitives haven't even attempted to leave their system since our warning. Scans show no defensive capabilities beyond their atmosphere." Corvex nodded. "As expected. Prepare the cleansing beams. We will make this quick and merciful." But before the officer could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. The bridge lit up with warning lights as sensor operators shouted. In confusion, "What is happening?" Corvex demanded. "Impossible!" The sensor officer's voice trembled. "Multiple spatial ruptures detected. Massive energy signatures that they're everywhere." Space itself seemed to tear open around the Dominion fleet. Not at the expected entry points where hyperspace gates would form, but at random locations throughout the formation. Where there had been empty space, there were suddenly ships. Human ships. "This cannot be," Corvex whispered. "They're only a level 2 civilization." The human vessels were nothing like the elegant ships of the Dominion. They were dark, angular machines that absorbed sensor scans rather than reflecting them. 500 of them had appeared simultaneously, surrounding the Dominion fleet in a perfect encirclement. On the bridge of the Earth's Vengeance, Fleet Admiral Richard Donovan stood calmly. His uniform was simple and practical, with only small silver stars on his collar marking his rank. "All ships report successful transit," his tactical officer reported. "No detection by Dominion forces until emergence. We have complete tactical surprise." Donovan nodded. "Open communications to the Dominion fleet." From the Earth's Vengeance, a signal went out to all 30 Dominion ships. Donovan's face appeared on their command screens. "This is Fleet Admiral Richard Donovan of the Earth Alliance Defense Force," he said, his voice steady and without emotion. 50 years ago, you destroyed our colony at Proxima Centauri. You threatened the extinction of our species. Consider this our response." On his command bridge, Corvex stared at the human's face in disbelief. "Raise shields," he shouted. "Prepare main weapons." But it was already too late. "Fire," Donovan ordered. From the human ships, thousands of missiles launched simultaneously. They didn't strike the Dominion shields directly. Instead, they passed through them as if they weren't there, exploiting the phase variance that Professor Grant had discovered. Dr. Ella Jones, the weapons designer who had created these special warheads, watched from her station on the Earth's Vengeance. She was 36, with short red hair and green eyes that focused intently on her display. "Phase penetration successful," she reported. "Detonation in 3, 2, 1. The missiles exploded not against the Dominion ships' hulls, but inside, their shield perimeters. The explosion patterns were precisely calculated to cause maximum damage to critical systems. 28 Dominion ships were destroyed in the first salvo. Their beautiful crystal structures shattered into millions of pieces that scattered across space like stars. Only 2 ships remained: High Admiral Corvex's command vessel and 1 escort. "This is impossible," Corvex said as his ship shuddered around him. "They cannot have this technology." Attempting emergency hyperspace jump, his navigation officer called out. Donovan watched as the two surviving Dominion ships tried to escape. "Target the escort," he ordered. "Let the command ship go." Precision beams from 3 human vessels struck the Dominion escort, cutting through its damaged shields and splitting it in half. "Why are we allowing one to escape?" asked Dr. Jones. "They need to carry our message," Donovan replied. High Admiral Corvex's ship vanished into hyperspace, escaping the battle. But the defeat was total. In less than 5 minutes, humanity had destroyed 29 ships of the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. On the Earth's vengeance, the bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency. There were no cheers, no celebrations. This was only the beginning. "Transmit Phase 2 coordinates to all ships," Donovan ordered. "Begin immediate spacefold to secondary targets." Throughout the human fleet, captains received their next objectives. The ships disappeared in ripples of distorted space, heading toward their next targets, key Dominion facilities throughout nearby space. On the Dominion throne world of Zaxvalon Prime, Emperor Zaxvalon received the news of the disaster with growing rage. His crystalline throne room trembled with his anger. "Impossible," he roared, his voice causing cracks to form in the crystal walls. "A Level 2 civilization cannot defeat a Dominion fleet." The messenger trembled before him. "High Admiral Corvex reports that they use technology we believed impossible for them to possess. They appeared without warning inside our formation. Their weapons penetrated our shields as if they weren't there." Emperor Zaxvalon stood, his towering form radiating power. For 10,000 years, the Dominion had ruled the stars without challenge. Now, a species of primitives from a backwater planet had destroyed an extermination fleet. "Send the Imperial Armada," he ordered. "All of it. I want that species wiped from existence." But even as he gave the order, new reports flooded in. Human ships had appeared at the shipyards of Xanthos Prime. The communication hubs in the Orion Spur were under attack. Supply depots throughout 3 sectors had been destroyed. The Imperial Armada would take time to assemble, 15,000 ships gathering from across the Dominion, time the humans were using well. Back on Earth, in the Underwater Command Center, President Rodriguez received the first reports of victory. "Initial engagement successful," she told the gathered leaders. 29 Dominion ships destroyed, 1 allowed to escape as planned. "And our losses?" asked a council member. "None," Rodriguez replied. "Not a single ship." The room fell silent. As the implication sank in, humanity had not just survived its first true interstellar battle, it had won without losing a single vessel. "Phase 2 has begun," Rodriguez continued. "Admiral Donovan is deploying ships to targets throughout Dominion space. By the time they can organize a response, we will have compromised their ability to wage war effectively." "And then?" asked another leader. Rodriguez's eyes were hard as she looked at the galactic map. "Then we take the fight to the heart of their empire. We end this threat forever." Across the stars, the ships of humanity's fleet emerged from torn space near their targets. The Dominion, for all its power and age, had never faced an enemy like humanity, a species that had spent 50 years preparing for this moment, studying every weakness, developing technologies specifically designed to counter Dominion defenses. The long-awaited counterattack had begun, and the Galactic Dominion, for the first time in 10,000 years, knew fear. Word spread throughout the Dominion faster than light itself. The impossible had happened. A Level 2 civilization had not only resisted extinction but had utterly destroyed an extermination fleet. Species that had lived under Dominion rule for thousands of years whispered among themselves. Some felt hope for the first time. On the Dominion command world of Krelvos, Grand Marshal Ulo Zenti struggled to organize a defense. His 6-limbed body moved rapidly between holographic displays showing the spreading human attacks. "How is this possible?" he demanded of his staff. "They're barely more than monkeys with spacecraft." None of his advisors had an answer that satisfied him. The humans were attacking in ways that defied Dominion military doctrine. They appeared without warning, struck with perfect precision, and vanished before a response could be mounted. "The Imperial Armada will be ready in 6 days," reported his logistics officer. "Too long," Ulozenthi replied. "These humans are systematically destroying our ability to wage war. In 6 days, we may not have an empire left to defend." Across Dominion space, the human battle groups continued their campaign. Rear Admiral Tina Martinez led Battle Group Omega against the shipyards of Xanthos Prime. At 47, she was one of Earth's most experienced space tacticians, though she had never fought in a real battle until today. Her flagship, the Sword of Terra, emerged from folded space directly within the shipyard's defense perimeter. 4 other human warships appeared simultaneously at different points around the massive facility. "Target their construction bays and power generators," Martinez ordered. "Minimal force against habitation sections." The human ships fired precision weapons that sliced through the shipyard's defenses. Within minutes, the largest shipbuilding facility in the Dominion was reduced to a floating wreck. "Admiral," her communications officer called out, "we're receiving surrender signals from the habitation rings." Martinez nodded. "Accept their surrender. Inform them that we have no quarrel with civilians." The workers on Xanthos Prime, members of 12 different species, watched in shock as the human ships protected their living areas while methodically destroying the military infrastructure. "They could kill us all," said a shipyard engineer to his colleagues. "Why aren't they?" In another sector of space, Commodore Jason Patel led Battle Group Delta against the strategic communication hubs in the Orion Spur. His task was perhaps the most critical, disrupting the Dominion's ability to coordinate a response. "All hubs targeted and neutralized," his executive officer reported. "Dominion communications in this sector are now limited to light speed only." Patel studied the tactical display. "Any casualties?" "None, sir." Dominion forces were caught completely off guard. Back on Earth, Dr. Scott Williams worked in a laboratory surrounded by specimens recovered from fallen Dominion ships. As the leading xenobiologist, he had spent decades studying Dominion physiology. "What have you found?" asked the Joint Chiefs representative who had come to get his report. Williams pointed to brain scans of several alien species. "They evolved differently than we did," he explained. "Every sentient species in the Dominion evolved as either solitary organisms or hive minds. They literally cannot think the way we do." "Meaning what exactly?" the representative asked. "They can't understand our strategy," Williams said. "Humans evolved as pack hunters on a hostile world. We're the only known sentient species that developed cooperative hunting, persistence tracking, and tribal warfare. We sacrifice immediate comfort for long-term planning in ways their brains aren't wired to comprehend." The representative looked at the alien brain scans. "You're saying our biggest advantage isn't technology?" "Exactly," Williams nodded. "It's our psychology. The way we think is as alien to them as their appearance is to us." In space, the human fleet continued its systematic campaign. 2 weeks after the initial engagement, they had destroyed or disabled 60% of the Dominion's military infrastructure in 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. The Imperial Armada finally assembled, 15,000 ships strong, only to discover their supply lines severed, their communications in disarray, and their defensive positions compromised. "They're moving toward Zaxvalon Prime," reported an intelligence officer on the Earth's Vengeance. Admiral Donovan nodded. "As expected, they believe their numerical advantage will allow them to protect their throne world." "Will we attack the Armada directly?" asked his tactical officer. "No," Donovan replied. "Let them gather their forces in one place. It makes our true objective easier." From her underwater command center on Earth, President Rodriguez monitored the campaign's progress. The holographic display showed human ships systematically eliminating Dominion military targets while avoiding civilian casualties whenever possible. "It's time for the final phase," she told her war council. "While the Imperial Armada protects their throne world, we strike at the Emperor himself." The council members looked at her in shock. "You're proposing a direct assault on Zaxvalon Prime?" asked her defense minister. "Even with our advantages, the planet will be heavily defended." Which is why we won't approach it conventionally, Rodriguez replied. Our ships won't arrive in orbit. They'll emerge directly within the atmosphere. Across the room, scientists and military leaders exchanged worried glances. Space folding within a planetary atmosphere had never been attempted. The calculations would have to be perfect, or the ships would materialize inside solid matter. "Can we do that?" asked the chief of staff. Rodriguez nodded toward a quiet man sitting at the end of the table. George Mason was the lead physicist who had developed the spacefold drive. At 65, his body was frail, but his mind remained brilliant. "The equations work," Mason said simply. "It's never been done because no one has ever needed to do it before. But yes, we can place our entire fleet directly in the atmosphere of Zaxvalon Prime. On the Dominion throne world, Emperor Zaxvalon received increasingly disturbing reports. The humans weren't behaving like any enemy the Dominion had faced in 10,000 years. They struck with precision, avoided unnecessary casualties, and always seemed to be one step ahead. "They're animals," he raged to his advisors. "Primitives barely out of their Stone Age. How can they defeat the greatest empire the galaxy has ever known?" No one dared answer him. The Emperor's wrath was legendary, and those who brought bad news often didn't survive the experience. "The Imperial Armada will protect us," one brave counselor suggested. 15,000 ships cannot be defeated." Emperor Zaxvalon calmed slightly. "Yes, let these humans exhaust themselves against our main fleet. Then we will finish them once and for all." But even as he spoke, on the Earth's vengeance, Admiral Donovan gave the order that would change the galaxy forever. "All ships prepare for atmospheric spacefold," he commanded. "Target, Zaxvalon Prime." The human fleet, now reinforced with vessels completed during the campaign, vanished from normal space. Their destination, not the empty void above the Dominion, throne world, but the air itself surrounding the Imperial Palace. The most audacious military maneuver in galactic history was about to begin. The skies above Zaxvalon Prime were clear and beautiful. 3 moons hung in perfect alignment, a sight that happened only once every 60 years. Citizens of the Dominion's capital world looked up in wonder at this rare event. Then the sky tore open. Hundreds of human warships appeared not in orbit, but directly in the atmosphere. The sound was deafening. A thunderclap multiplied 1,000 times as air was displaced by massive vessels. Buildings shook. Windows shattered. Emperor Zaxvalon felt his crystal palace tremble. He rushed to the balcony overlooking the capital city and froze in shock. Human ships hovered in the air, their dark hulls blocking out the sunlight. "Impossible," he whispered. From the ships, a message broadcast across the planet. Fleet Admiral Donovan's voice echoed from every communication device. "People of Zaxvalon Prime. This is Fleet Admiral Richard Donovan of Earth. Your choices brought us here. Your arrogance, your cruelty, your belief in your own superiority." The Emperor's personal guard surrounded him as explosions rocked the Imperial Palace. Defense systems tried to target the human ships, but they had appeared too suddenly, too close. "Summon the Imperial Armada," Zaxvalon commanded. A communications officer trembled before him. "They cannot reach us in time, Emperor. The humans have blocked all hyperspace approaches to our system." For the first time in his 300-year reign, Emperor Zaxvalon knew fear. He had ordered the extinction of dozens of species. Now one of those species had brought war to his doorstep. Colonel Laura Freeman led the human strike team that breached the palace defenses. At 38, she was a veteran of Earth's special forces. Though this was her first combat mission, in space, her team moved with practiced precision through the crystal corridors. "Remember, we take the Emperor alive," she told her soldiers as they advanced. "This isn't about revenge, it's about ending the threat." The palace guards fought bravely, but were overwhelmed by human tactics they had never encountered before. The strike team used coordinated movements, covering fire, and flanking maneuvers that confused the Dominion soldiers, who were used to fighting as individuals. What Freeman and her team found inside the palace shocked even the battle-hardened soldiers. One vast hall contained thousands of preserved specimens of extinct species, trophies from the Emperor's cleansing campaigns. Might I? God, whispered Freeman as she walked past display cases containing the preserved remains of entire families from dozens of worlds. He kept souvenirs. In another part of the palace, the Emperor prepared for his last stand. His personal guards formed a protective circle around him as he activated ancient weapons built into his throne. I have ruled this galaxy for 3 centuries, he told his guards. I will not surrender to primitives. But the human strike team had anticipated his actions. Specialized disruptor devices designed by Earth scientists who had studied Dominion technology disabled the palace's power systems. The Emperor's weapons fell silent. When Freeman's team broke through the final doors to the throne room, they found Emperor Zax Valen standing alone. His guards had fled. You could destroy us all, the Emperor said, his voice lacking its usual resonance. Why don't you? Freeman kept her weapon trained on him but did not fire. Because that would make us like you. 3 days later, the final confrontation between humanity and the Dominion took place not on a battlefield but in a negotiation chamber. The Emperor, stripped of his ceremonial armor and powers, faced President Rodriguez and the Allied command. You have defeated the greatest empire in galactic history, Zax Valen said. What do you want? Revenge? Our territories? Our technology? President, Rodriguez looked at the fallen Emperor with steady eyes. We want only one thing, that no species will ever again face extinction for the crime of existence. The Galactic Reformation Treaty was signed that day. The Dominion was dissolved. Its member worlds given independence or the option to join the newly formed Galactic Confederation. Under the treaty's terms, all species would have equal rights, regardless of their technological development. As Admiral Donovan prepared the human fleet for its return journey to Earth, he stood on the observation deck of the Earth's Vengeance, with Olivia Ross and Dr. Williams. Do you think it will last? Olivia asked, watching as ships from formerly subjugated worlds celebrated their newfound freedom. Nothing lasts forever, Donovan replied. But we've given them a chance to build something better. Williams nodded toward the stars. The Dominion ruled through fear for 10,000 years. We defeated them in 1 month. Not through superior weapons, Donovan said, but through something they couldn't understand, our humanity. On worlds across the former Dominion, species that had lived in fear for millennia looked up at the stars with new hope. The human fleet had withdrawn to Earth, leaving behind not conquerors, but allies. They could have ruled us all, a Xanthorian, Elder told his grandchildren, his scaled skin reflecting the light of their home sun. Instead, they gave us freedom. Why? Asked one of the younglings. They were stronger. They could have taken whatever they wanted. Because humans are different, the Elder explained. They evolved as protectors as well as hunters. Their strength comes from working together, from seeing value in all life. Remember that about humans. They are dangerous beyond measure, but their mercy is even more terrifying than their wrath. On Earth, children looked up at the night sky with wonder rather than fear. The stars were no longer just distant lights, but places where friends and allies lived. In her underwater office, President Rodriguez signed the final documents establishing Earth's role in the new Galactic Confederation. The room had changed. Representatives from 20 alien species now sat around the table that once held only humans. Is it what you hoped for? Asked an aide. Rodriguez looked at the diverse group of beings working together on plans for mutual defense, trade, and cultural exchange. It's better, she replied. We didn't just survive. We didn't just win. We created something new, far away, in a maximum security prison on a remote world. Former Emperor Zax Valen sat alone in a cell. Through a small window, he could see ships from 100 worlds passing by, beings of all types working together in ways he had never thought possible. I still don't understand, he said to himself. They were just primitives. And that was why he had lost. Across the galaxy, a new era had begun. The age of the Dominion was over. The age of cooperation had just started. And at its heart was humanity, a species that had faced extinction and instead created a future where all could thrive. The stars looked peaceful from Earth. People gazed up at them, wondering what might come next. For centuries, humans had dreamed about meeting aliens, about finding friends among the stars. This time they were right.